See Lucas there, probe a little mid-range jump shot. He's helping himself here today. But, you know, how do you adapt and adjust when a coach is critical and you have to learn how to deal with the truth about your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities, and that's how you get better as a player. And I think that's an important aspect. Also, time management, a big factor in the adjustments from high school to college. In a sense, it's really a job.
Good stutter step drive along the baseline for Chris Wright, the future Georgetown Hoya. You know, you're put on scholarship, but it becomes a job. Classwork, study hall, tutoring, weights, individual workouts, practices, travel, media requests, video and scouting report meetings. And a lot of kids struggle when they have that freedom away from home with time management. Stepping on the baseline is Jay Lucas, and the turnover gives the ball back over to the blue team. Timeout on the floor. Under 3 minutes remaining, first half. Yellow on top of blue. Welcome back, everyone, to Madison Square Garden. The yellow team on top of the blue by 10. Well, this is the 6th year that Jordan Brand has been associated with what was once called the Capitol Classic. With more on Michael Jordan's involvement, let's go to Heather.
Years past, Eric, Michael Jordan has been heavily involved, from practices to dinners to pep talks. But this year, things have changed a little bit because of his NBA involvement with the Charlotte Bobcats. NBA rules prohibit him from being able to interact with the players because they are potential prospects, and it would provide an unfair advantage to his NBA counterparts. So Michael Jordan, yes, he is in attendance tonight, but not able to address the team or the cameras. But no doubt his presence alone is inspiring to just about everybody here.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah, the best I ever saw, no doubt about it. One of those guys that just won games by stepping on the floor. Won NBA games by just stepping on the floor.
I told him at the last time out, I said, hey, Michael, your son can play a little bit. And he looked at me and he said, what do you expect?
We're going to have free throws here for the blue team. There's Jeffrey Jordan. Told you about the fact that he is still undecided where he's planning on going. A lot of schools still in the mix. Valparaiso, Davidson, George Washington has an opportunity to be a preferred walk-on and play at a Big Ten program like Northwestern and Illinois.
And Eric, I understand the ruling from the NBA not allowing Michael Jordan to be involved with this Jordan Brand game like he was last year, but think about the loss that these kids now don't have the evening with Michael Jordan to sit down and talk with him and behind closed doors and let the greatest of all time tell them what it takes to be successful. I understand why the rule's in place. I also understand there are some times when the common sense index should maybe come into play. What's wrong with Michael Jordan addressing a group of young men at any time, under any situation, talking about what it takes to be successful, not only in basketball lab, but in life?
Well, couldn't agree with you more as we see Mr. Greene flush one home in transition. Little hook dunk.
Donte Greene with a very similar resume to Carmelo Anthony. They both played high school basketball, at least first at Towson Catholic in Maryland. Carmelo eventually went to Oak Hill, but then to get off to play for Jim Boeheim in Syracuse, as again, Donte Greene finishing strong at the rim.
Well, White taking advantage of the matchup quickness advantage they have, pushing the ball in transition, probing for easy looks.
Gary Johnson is sandwiched and falls to the floor.
Donte Greene is that long, lanky athlete that Jim Boeheim has had for years at Syracuse. Across the back line of that zone is where this guy is going to be playing. Covers a lot of spot in a zone defense for Jim Boeheim. Going to replace not only Demetrius Nichols at that 3-4 position, but basically the entire front line for Syracuse next year. This is a guy, Donte Greene, that can get it done.
Well, you know, he's similar to Hakeem Warwick in terms of his build, but I think his skill set is more advanced at this stage of his career than Hakeem Warwick's is in terms of his jump shot from the perimeter, his ability to handle and pass. Very impressive for a player his size.
Doesn't Jim Boeheim do a great job of IDing? You see a basket made by
Patrick Patterson.
Patrick Patterson, who we don't know where he's going to go to school. But think about Jim Boeheim, what he does on the recruiting trail. He IDs kids like Greene and says, where would you fit in defensively for me as a zone defender? And this is a long guy that can cover up a lot of space, take away vision from passing along the front line, can clean up misses. I think he and his staff really ID their kids awfully well.
Well, that's why it's so important the assistant coaches understand what the head coach wants for his system. Good fits are so critical. And I also think Jim Boeheim does a great job offensively, underrated as an offensive coach in terms of playing through his better players. That sounds simple, but it's good coaching. When you have a Carmelo Anthony, you play through him. Doesn't mean he has to shoot the ball every time, but because he's going to draw help, you can kick out of that get him involved in screens, post him up, move him around the floor. And he's always had the ability to put his best players on the floor, keep them in the game because they're not in foul trouble when they're in that zone. He's got them at the offensive end, and then also to play through them and allow the freedom, the flexibility there. Some coaches like to control every pass, every play. Jim Boeheim gives him freedom to let his talent rise to the top.
There was an offensive foul called on Nick Calathis, giving the ball back over to the yellow team. Yellow up by 4. About a minute and a half to play here in the first half. And we're going to have an offensive foul here on the other side. This time it's going to be called on Jeff Robinson. Well, coming up at halftime, don't go anywhere. We will have classic past to present to get you up to speed with the history of this great event. We'll have the week that was for these kids at the Jordan Brand All-American game in New York City. And of course, we will have first half highlights in case you missed anything. We will show you some of the great backdoor passes and the strong finishes at the rim. No-look pass, and Blake Griffin hammers it home. Griffin is going to take that power to Norman, Oklahoma, and play with his brother for the Oklahoma Sooners. His brother Taylor will be a junior next year for Jeff Capel.
Jeff Capel told me earlier this week he's hoping that Blake Griffin can replace the major minutes of Nate Carter, who was only 6'6", but was a real warrior at that 4 position. Blake Griffin could very well step in and be the kind of guy, in my opinion, Lav, that Jeff Capel can build a program around the big shoulders of Blake Griffin, number 15 in black. And you can build a program around shoulders like that.
Well, you see him cleaning up the boards, the ability to put the ball on the deck to create a better passing angle to start the break with that outlet pass, and finishing, obviously a high percentage finisher in the basket area, but a good sense or feel for the game as well.
Good athletic play. Chris Wright with the catch, the spin, and the finish. Chris Wright off to Georgetown next year, along with Austin Freeman, who's on the floor right now playing for the yellow team.
When I think Chris Wright going to Georgetown, if Roy Hibbert, who's about 50-50, and Big East Player of the Year Jeff Greene both return to Georgetown, they're going to be right up there in my eyes with teams like Memphis next year in that preseason poll. North Carolina, Memphis, Georgetown would all be there. And I'm not so sure that Roy Hibbert and Jeff Greene won't both come back. I think they're both going to be lottery picks. I think they've been told that. But I think those are 2 guys that might say, you know what, let's come back one more year and try to win a national championship for Georgetown.
Also, Georgetown continued to make inroads in their recruiting. You're starting to see them consistently sign McDonald's All-Americans, high-level players, Jordan All-Americans, and as a result, they're going to continue to sustain the level of play they had this past year. It's not going to be a one-hit wonder for John Thompson's program. I think Austin Freeman is a great fit for the Georgetown system when you look at his skill set.
They're going to say that Patrick Patterson had his left foot on the baseline after the pass from Nick Calathis, and a turnover is going to allow the yellow team to get the final shot here in the first half.
It's going to be a Hail Mary.
Austin Freeman's going to have to fire it up from half court. Austin Freeman, get out of Washington, D.C., heading off to play for Georgetown. Hits about a 42-footer.
Did I call it Hail Mary?
Hey, you know why, though? This is a guy that Steve Lavin last summer at the Nike camp won 9 straight games in a row in camp, coached by Steve Lavin. I know you worked on that shot, Lav, last summer.
9 scrimmages, just like we drew it up. I got to see if we can petition to get those 9 scrimmage victories on my
resume?
career total.
Look at
that
this.
might help my overall winning percentage.
You know what? Great awareness, though. He realized with 3 seconds he had time for 2 or 3 dribbles. I think that's the 3rd dribble, the 1-foot release. Boom! Just like Coach Lavin taught me last summer. Good job, Coach.
From DeMatha High School as well. So one of the best programs in the country year in, year out.
Austin Freeman with 5 first-half points, and we've got a 9-point game at halftime. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue from New York City. Welcome back, everyone, to Madison Square Garden. It is halftime here at the world's most famous arena. Well, this is now the 33rd year of what was once known as the Capitol Classic and is now known as the